Welcome into this Five Clubs conversation. I'm Emma Carpenter, and I am switching things up a little bit today. Typically out at TPC or Olympic Hills, I'm actually in my apartment in Minneapolis today. So a little different, changing it up, but we're feeling good. We're feeling comfortable and nice at home. So this is a really exciting time of year right now because summer amateur golf is wrapping up and college seasons are starting right about now. And one of the biggest names in college golf and amateur golf is the University of North Carolina senior Austin Greaser. Now, last summer, Austin Greaser finished runner-up at the U.S. Amateur and then was able to compound that with a collegiate win at the University of Illinois event at Olympia Fields, as well as being the first Tar Heel ever to win an NCAA Regional that spring. So he was able to then go ahead into the summer and play in the Masters Championship, US Open, and then finish up his summer here with a win at the Western Amateur just a couple weeks ago. So a really phenomenal career that Austin has got going so far. He is going to be finishing up his summer before the college season in a couple weeks in Paris for the Team World Championships representing the USA. So really exciting stuff going on for Austin right now. And I am very excited to sit down and chat with him today. I know that you're going to enjoy the listen. And with that, I welcome in Austin Greaser. Austin, thank you so much for joining me today on Five Clubs.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
All right, so it's about 8:15 there right now, and you're already done with your practice session for the day, getting ready to go to class, yeah?
Yeah, just got some in right after I woke up there before class, just a little bit of work, and then gonna go knock out class and maybe head back over there after. We'll see.
The life of a college golfer, listeners. I mean, I was thinking he just woke up, and no, he already got his first session of the day before class. So, Austin, so you're a senior this year at UNC. You just had a big win at the Western Amateur a few weeks ago that we're definitely going to get into. But before this insane year that you've had this past year, including major championships, couple collegiate wins just this past year. I mean, you were just a junior golfer from Vandalia, Ohio, right? So, I mean, the top ranked player in Ohio, that is. But can you tell me a little bit more? What brought you to the University of North Carolina?
When I was a freshman, so I've played since about 5 years old. Kind of at some point, kind of late middle school, early high school, I wanted to take it to the next level, play collegiate golf. So I think my freshman year, my dad and I kind of did some kind of like Excel spreadsheet or whatever of some schools that we wanted to target. And so we sent out probably 50 emails to D1 schools and just said, hey, I want to play someday. Would love to look, more into your program. Would love you guys to get to know me. Kind of here's my resume. Here's what I will be playing in, that type of thing. If you would love to come watch, or if I could come see your guys' facilities, please let us know. So one of the schools that at that time was North Carolina, and the head coach was different from what it was now. And so this was not uncommon from that kind of block of schools. The head coach then emailed back and said, hey, we don't have any 2019 spots. I'm sorry, it's just not going to work. And I was like, that's fine. I got that from a few schools, and some schools had already filled up their spots. So like, no big deal. So I kind of kept my head down, got to visit some schools, kind of kept playing a little bit better. But honestly, with all due respect to the schools that did offer me, just kind of didn't have what I wanted yet. I wanted to play for a big time program that was going to be competing year in and year out for a national championship. So I don't think, like you said, I was pretty good in Ohio. And there's some pretty good juniors out of Ohio and stuff, but I don't know. I wasn't as highly ranked on a national scale. So just like I said, just didn't really have the offers I felt like I really wanted. And so just like I said, just kind of kept my head down, kept working hard, kept knowing that, what I'm doing is working, and that I'm going to be really good someday. And a couple of years later, had built my resume a little bit more, had a couple wins at some tournaments, the Justin Thomas AJGA being one of them. So kind of had a little bit more to talk about. and played in a couple invitationals. My going into my senior year of high school, the summer before going into my senior high school. And so I had a little bit more on my resume, and I played one in Greensboro, the Wyndham Invitational, and the UNC coaches were there. And the head coach had changed at this point, and kind of long story short, after the event, well, actually the last day of the event, the UNC head coach contacted me and said, "Hey, we're really interested. We watched you for the last few days. Is there any way you could come see us?" And we're like, "Well, actually, we're flying out of Raleigh. Is there any way, we could stop by on the way to our flight?" And so we did. And long story short, it worked out where I just fell in love with the place. I love the coaches. I loved the program. I loved the better weather, the school, the campus, everything. Came back down about 2 weeks later on July 4th weekend, give or take. And they offered, and I took it, and here we are. So anyway, long story short.
Wow, that's an amazing story. Just because, I mean, the recruitment process before the rules changed, I mean, for you and I'm a senior as well. We could reach out to the coaches like as much as we wanted. We could just bombard them, right? Until we got a hold of them and they had the opportunity to maybe say that like they had already filled spots or that they were really interested and looking and stuff. So, I mean, the fact that they told you no and then came knocking on your door.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the rules are now, but that was kind of a big thing that my dad and I sat down and talked about. These coaches get hundreds of emails a day, whether it's from recruits, whether it's from, university faculty, whatever it is. And I wasn't really scared to almost annoy them until they either said, "Hey, you can come see us," or "No, we don't have a spot." Right. And I didn't mean that in a bad way. But I just believed in what I was going to be someday. And I wanted others to believe that too, somebody to believe in me. And fortunately, the coaches here did. It was, like I said, it's kind of funny. It was 3 weeks in between the first time I talked to the head coach and when I was committed here. So that was kind of cool. And ever since, we've been really, really close, and I haven't regretted it a bit.
Absolutely. Now you are, I mean, of the face of Tar Heel golf, to say the absolute least. And they're definitely very lucky to have you as well. I mean, coming in as a freshman, you made an impact right away. You came in second in your very first college event. I mean, as a college golfer, I can't even begin to describe how impressive that is, really. Something that I feel like I don't really touch on enough on the podcast is just kind of about like that initial shift from junior amateur golf to college golf, because college golf is such a unique niche, like in the 54 hole events, like in the competition, like it's just so different than just like amateur golf, junior golf. And like something that I feel like I don't touch on enough is just like that initial like feeling of just like being a college golfer. That very first event, would you say that did you feel any different? Like, do you feel like any extra nerves or just like a different incentive to play well? Like, how could you maybe describe that?
Yeah, I think, you definitely hit on it. It is a tough transition. And I feel like even that first event, I played really well, played okay in my second one. And I kind of didn't have the greatest freshman year after that. It kind of hit me a little bit more, but I will say it is a tough transition. I definitely had nerves I'd never felt before. I think that's probably anybody. Definitely felt some pressure I'd never felt before. But at the end of the day, and I've actually learned this more, maybe we'll get into the last year, playing in these new events, I guess you could say, are like different levels than you've played before, I guess. At the end of the day, I really try to remind myself that it's the same game, right? It's the same ball. The objective is still the same. So fortunately, I felt like I was able to harness that nervousness in a positive way. It's like, man, I get the opportunity to not only play, high D level 1 golf, but at the University of North Carolina. I mean, a very big time public school. So, I really enjoyed that, and I enjoy, repping these colors, and I don't take that lightly. So, I think that was kind of how I rolled that first event, and I've rolled ever since, really. But just knowing that, hey, this is the same game. Maybe I have a different logo on my shirt, but we're still swinging the same clubs, hitting the same ball. So fortunately, it was able to add up to, I guess, a decently low number there that week. But like I said, I feel like I didn't try to approach it too much differently than the junior events right before it.
Yeah, well, and that works out with that approach. It works out extra well because it's just like a little bit sweeter when it goes well. Because then you've got,
100%.
yeah. Well, then you're helping out your team and like all is good. I swear, in college, I always say this. I say this to college golfers, like in college when like the golf is great, going well, like it's just like everything is fantastic.
It is. It definitely is. I feel that.
So you had still a very impressive first 2 years at UNC. But then it was really last summer at the USM 2021 where I feel like things kind of like really made a shift for you. Between now, which we're going to get into here, but between now and where you were as a freshman, being at the University of North Carolina, from teammates, from coaches, just from the whole overall experience, what would you say is like the biggest thing that you've learned that has made you the amateur golfer that you are today?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. I feel like I can go a lot of different ways with this. Well, I feel like here, especially at a university like this, surrounded by some really, really good players, you have the chance to kind of have competition with them all the time, right? And just kind of one of those things, cliche, iron sharpens iron. And I feel like that's really helped. But I think, for me, I know kind of last summer was probably like, hey, like this kid can play. But if we go back a little bit farther, that kind of nobody's, really seen, like, with all due respect, I don't mean this in a bad way. I'm just saying from my standpoint, freshman year had a pretty good year. Sophomore year, we didn't play in the fall, but we played in the spring. And actually sophomore year, I want to say I played 10 tournaments. I had 3 top 5s, 3 top 10s, 3 top 25s, and only 1 finish outside the top 25. So really in the spring of the spring of my sophomore year, I actually played phenomenal golf, but just didn't get over the hump, right? Just didn't have, 2 or 3 breaks go my way then I was able to capitalize on and win. And so I think, kind of to answer your question, yes, University of North Carolina has helped me out a lot. Yes, these coaches have pushed me. Yes, my teammates have pushed me, but I've always believed in what I'm doing and how I'm practicing that's going to get me to the highest level. Now, fortunately, unfortunately, however you want to say it, it took me till, last summer, my sophomore and junior summer of college, to really feel like, hey, now I'm playing at the highest level of amateur golf. And that's where I've always seen myself. But for me, it was the 5-6 years before even North Carolina was thought of, like putting in the extra reps, getting up a little bit earlier, staying up a little bit later. That's where it started. And those continued reps and that continued practice, I feel like put me in a great spot that, hey, once I was on the biggest stage last year in amateur golf, I was able to go back and say, you know what, this 4-footer that I'm nervous over, I've hit this 10,000 times before on a putting green. Like, this one's going to go in. Just kind of stuff like that you can go back and say, hey, I've done this thousands of times, and that's why I'm going to be able to execute now, is how I think I'd say that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, kind of to sum up what you're saying, if I'm understanding it correctly, is just about like having ultimate faith in your own game and like the work that you put in over the last X amount of years.
100%. Yeah. I mean, confidence in this game is big time. And we all know how hard it is between the years. I mean, you're a college golfer, you get it. So if you don't have confidence in yourself, don't look for somebody else to have it in you, So I definitely write off that a lot. I feel like I have a pretty good confidence in my mental game and my physical game, right? And the work that I put into it.
Right. Absolutely. I love that. Like, that's something that like I like my biggest like goal when I say like mentally going into a tournament for me, I'm just like, I want to prepare so unbelievably well that like that's where I can like 100% rely on like confidence to come from,
Right. And that's the tough thing is I might say it and it comes off like it sounds easy, but it's not. It's something that you probably understand too. It's something you got to work on every day. Bad thoughts creep into your head all the time. It's just part of it. It's part of golf. It's part of having kind of a natural mind. That's where our mind wants to go. It's typically negative stuff. So it's a constant battle. But for me, working on mental stuff, just a lot of stuff that I do, especially between the ears. It's tough, but it's made me more confident in my game and what I'm doing.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Well, I mean, so like I said, you had a really impressive first 2 years, especially that spring year, sophomore year, all those great finishes. You said, not quite getting over the hump. It's kind of how it goes. I mean, once players are just like creeping up, like once they get a win, it's just like look out, which is exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So the funny thing is, even though it feels like last summer was a summer I kind of played really well and I still didn't win. I mean, I finished semifinals at Western and then finals at USAM, but I still didn't have a big time win on my resume, and everybody wants to talk about, well, yeah, it was a great summer, but like, I want to win, like I want to be the last guy standing at the end of the day. So the funny thing is right after the USAM, a month later, pretty much, those breaks that I was talking about at Olympia Fields for the Fighting Illini Invitational, the second round, I had my first ever hole-in-one from, I think, 169 yards on par, I want to say 13th to par 3. And then the last round, long story short, the last round, last hole, I was in the fair. I had to chip out, hit a bad drive on the last hole, had to chip out, was in the fairway on my third shot on 18, a par 4 from 168, and made it to win, right? So it's like one of those things where it's like, that'll probably never happen again. But it was just like that week, I got the breaks to fall my way and then finally got one under my belt. And I feel like since then, I'm able to look at myself in the mirror and be like you can win, and that was the first time I could look at myself in the mirror and say, you can win these big time events. I mean, I know I got close and I feel like my confidence never wavered from the fact that I could win, but I hadn't done it yet. Right. And so kind of being able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, wow, I've done this now, kind of opens the floodgates and kind of gets the monkey off your back a little bit. And kind of had a little bit of a rough spring last spring, but somehow just randomly found in a regionals, got it done there. And then, like you said, this past summer at Western. So it's just kind of funny how that stuff works.
Austin, I mean, you read my mind. That's exactly where I was going. This win in September, exactly about a month after you finished runner up at the USM. About a month later in September was at Olympia Fields for U of I's home event. I'm not kidding. Like, I vividly remember this. I'm sitting in my kitchen and this video of you holing out from the fairway to win the event. It's like going viral amongst like college.
Yeah.
I remember watching this video and it was like one of the most electric things I've ever seen. Like, oh my God, like the hole out from the fairway and you got your teammates like behind the green.
Yeah. Yeah, that was so. I mean, that's gonna be something like I'll look back and smile on forever. I think, like you said, the best thing about it is watching my teammates. I mean, our colors, they look like little Smurfs back there, and they're running and chest bumping, and even me and my coach there in the fairway. I don't even remember acting like I did, to be honest, but it was just it was all kind of bottled up. I mean, I knew I had a group behind me, but it was all that motion kind of bottled up. Like I'd come really close and I'd had a lot of heartbreak. I mean, even the month before at Western, I know I didn't get to final match, but I gave Michael a heck of a run and he just beat me. And it was a little bit of a heartbreak. And even back to the spring, I was in a couple positions to win and just didn't execute, and so it's like one of those things where you kind of get it all bottled up, and I guess that's just how it came out for me.
There's a group behind you too. That's hilarious. You went through a full celebration. Imagine
Yeah.
On the tee and watching this guy in the fairway, everyone's going crazy.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so I talked to my teammate David Ford because he was in the group behind me that day. And somebody asked, somebody said something along lines like, who was that? And he's like, yep. He's like, that's my teammate. So that was funny. I like that kid a lot.
Give me a quick shot breakdown of like how far you were and what club you hit.
Yeah. So I'll just run through the whole. So anybody that's played Olympia Fields knows that 18 is a beast. 18 is a dogleg left. There's a big tree right off the tee box that makes it hard. That forces you to draw the ball really. And I am not a drawer of the golf ball. The most I can hit a draw with the driver, I feel like is pretty straight. So I teed it up really high, took my 2 club links back way on the right side of the box and was just going to try and hit it pretty straight, but take it really high over the tree and just hit a little bit of a fade. And I mean, I blocked this ball probably 70 or 80 yards. Like it was just not even close to what I was trying to do. So I mean, this is how far right it was. I remember there's kind of woods over there, some trees, and I'm pretty sure I was like 46 yards to the edge of the fairway when I was chipping out. Like, this is how far right I hit it. So I chip it out, and it was a good chip out, really, to the middle of the fairway, and it's kind of that front rightish pin. I think it was, like I said, I'm pretty sure it was 168, a little bit of an in-2 wind. And so I hit this like kind of 3/4, 3-finger, whatever you want to call it, 7-iron, kind of lower, kept it kind of lower into the wind, like I said, just clipped it perfect. It felt good. It looked good. And I actually, the funny thing about it is the green was very shiny at the time where the sun was setting, and I couldn't see the ball at all. Like, I couldn't see the ball, but I could tell because you could.
Was the flag like front right?
Yes, the flag was front right. Yeah, it was a very tough pin. I'm not gonna lie. I did not try to land it where I did. If you watch one of the other videos, but anyway, I couldn't really see the green. You might be able to see it in the video. Like, I just started to go to my back, but it was one of those things where behind the green, the crowd's noise just kept getting like bigger and bigger and bigger. Like, the ball was getting closer, and then it just erupted. And like, I didn't even know for sure the ball went in, but I was like, there is no way it didn't, because that was way too loud for anything else to happen. So that's kind of when I started celebrating. So I didn't even really get to see it go in, unfortunately, but we had it on video. So that was pretty cool.
That is so awesome. And well, there was one from the fairway. Was that your mom or someone?
Yes, my mom was the one kind of to the side. Yeah.
It was the sweetest thing. In the background, she's like, "Oh my gosh, it went
in." Yeah. We had a good time with that one. We were happy because the funny thing was my twin brother, who's typically on the bag, he couldn't make it for that event. So she was filming it because he wasn't able to be there, and she was showing him the last hole. And she's like, I wouldn't have been filming it if it wasn't for, you were in the lead and he wanted to see like what was going on. So that was a pretty cool video.
Yeah, no, it was, like I said, it was electric. I saw it. I was like, that's nuts. That's actually so cool. So, I mean, later that same year, you were, like you mentioned briefly, you were the first Tar Heel ever to win an NCAA regional. I mean, winning a regional is like so impressive. Just the field is obviously stacked. You went 68, 63, 69, which is just really it's sick. It's so good. Can you a little bit just into your mindset heading into that week? Regionals is so unique because, I mean, really the main goal is like making it to nationals, right? But I mean, you shoot for the moon every event. You're trying to win, but like what's
So the funny thing about the regional win was, if you go back and look at my finishes from the rest of the spring, they were very less than good, or however you want to say. They were not good. I had not played well. And so I went and spent some time with my swing coach after school had finished, in between regionals, and we kind of figured something out. I wasn't driving the ball that well, and we kind of figured something out with my driver. And so I kind of had a little bit of a renewed confidence. Haven't got to spend a whole lot of time with him this spring. But yeah, I mean, you want to look forward to nationals. We were ranked 5th in the country, I think. So it's like, regionals should be an easy go through, right? But it always ends up being a tough little test. So yeah, I mean, we were nervous. I think I was nervous. I mean, you want to get to that national stage, but you got to get through this regional stage. But like I said, I just kind of relied on what me and my coach had worked on, kind of trusted it, really believed in it, and fortunately drove the ball really well that week. That was one of my best driving the ball weeks I've ever had in my life, and putted it pretty good. So yeah, it was just one of those weeks where I just felt like I hit it really solid, especially off the tee, and just gave myself look after look. Didn't make all of them, but made enough of them.
Yeah, no, totally. Okay, something about like, because I mean, at your level, I mean, in college golf, like, it's like you're never as far off as you think when something's not quite going right, and it's like the best feeling in the world when you, like, as you said, like, that's how we all describe it, when you figure something out.
Yeah.
Oh man, like, I gotta go play a tournament right now.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like, especially I say it's for all of the top AMs, men's and women's. I mean, you're never far off, like you said. It's always something little, but that something little can mean 5 or 6 strokes at the end of a tournament week, right? And so for me, it was just a little bit something little with kind of driver and off the tee, and just kind of was able to figure it out and put it together that week.
Yeah, well, congratulations. Really,
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Huge achievement. I mean, like I said, I'll say it again, first Tar Heel ever to win an NCAA regional. shooting 10 under for the week. So
Thank you.
yeah. So fast forward a little bit to this summer. I mean, you've probably had just like the summer of a lifetime playing in the Masters, U.S. Open. Just like I mentioned this past week or a couple weeks ago, you were able to get it done at the Western Am at Exmoor Country Club. So I'm from the Chicago area, so I've actually played Exmoor before. That place is but you're the 120th Western Am champion. Last year, you lost in the semifinals of the Western Am, which again, like, is just incredibly impressive golf, right? So a question that I have for you is like, clearly you've proven that you can play phenomenal golf for a long period of time. I mean, these events, USAM, Western Am, I mean, 2 years in a row, great showing at the Western Am. This year you got it done, which is unbelievable. It's just like, I got to ask you, what do you do? How do you keep your body and your mind like performing at such a high level under such high pressure for like such a long period of time?
Yeah, this is kind of a good question because my coaches here talk about this a lot, and I think it really boils down to doing the little things right, and we like to consider those details, right? So doing the details right, the fine print is kind of what I'm talking about. Taking care of everything, right? Like you said, you know, getting in the gym a little bit, taking the physical aspect serious, you know, getting the practice done, you know, whether it's early, whether it's late, getting the practice done, doing the mental reps. It's I could go kind of on and on, but moral of the story is wrapping all those things up kind of in a little bit of a basket or whatever. You've got to do the little things right, and you've got to take it serious. You've got to, you know, I'm a go to bed, get up early type of guy, right? Like that's how I roll, and I take what I do seriously. Like, this is my job. You know, I wouldn't expect to go into somebody that's sitting in an office doing their job and then kind of goofing around. Like, this is what I do. This is what I want to do someday for a living. So I take it serious and take every aspect of it serious, right? And I think that's kind of the big thing for me is not only taking it serious, but as I hinted before, understanding that, you know, I'm doing the little things right. They might not show up this week, but maybe they will next week. And if not next week, then next week. If not that week, then the next week, right? So it's just like, I'm always having a confidence that the things that I'm doing on and off the golf course are going to show up in my game and are going to put me in positions to win.
Right. So you would say kind of like in the preparation that you do prior to the event is really where, you know, a lot of your like stamina and grit and grind comes from.
Yeah, and I mean preparation for months before, right? I mean, I work on conditioning every week with my trainer here. We do it 2 times a week, right? And I feel like that's kind of lost for some golfers. I understand, you know, we're not on a basketball floor running back and forth, but we're on a football field running 100 yards at full speed. But you know, the Western Amateur, the U.S. Amateur, they're long freaking weeks. And you know, I played my brother who caddied at the Western. He had his Apple Watch on, and in 7 days we walked 94 miles. You know, so it's like you've got to be conditioned well. And so just like that, even that little aspect of it that maybe some people take serious, maybe some don't. I do, and I think it allows me to, you know, to prevail over some other guys late in the week when we're tired, when our brains are shot, when your body's physically just exhausted. You know, I try to push myself the extra mile weeks and months before so that, hey, I'm ready for that long week.
Right. You get out there and you be an athlete.
Yeah, exactly. Even though golfers might not be considered that sometimes, that's what I try to do. But I will say, kind of a funny note, I have a soft spot for these match play events. I don't know why. I love match play. It's one of my favorite aspects of the game of golf. So I think that's kind of what keeps me going too. In some aspects for like the Western and USAM, you know, I want to make it to past those stroke play rounds because like just get me to match play and I know I have a chance. You know.
That's awesome. Match play is the best. Clearly, you have done unbelievably well. Would you say? I mean, the mindset in match play. Would you say? Are you a guy who's like, you know, more quiet? You're trying to intimidate your opponent. I'm not kidding. That's like some of the advice that I get. It's like, oh, you got to be intimidating.
Yeah, I don't really know. I think it really depends who I'm playing. I'm not trying. The bottom line is I don't let anything the other guy does dictate what I do, right? And so, you know, for me, I have a game plan before the week even starts, whether it's stroke play, whether it's match play, and regardless, I'm sticking to that game plan. If that game plan got me to stroke play, if I can go execute that game plan, I'm going to win in match play, right? And so nothing the other guy does ever really dictates what I do with my shot or how I walk. I try to stay in my shoes, carry the swag that I have. That's my swag, and let's see how the chips fall.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, you've had an unbelievable summer playing in the Masters, playing in the US Open, making the cut at the US Open. That's huge. My dad took you in his pool in the US Open. You're one of his players. So he was fired up. My guy, Austin Greaser, is playing this weekend. So, I mean, quickly, can you explain to me just the feeling of playing in these major championships, like alongside the greatest in the world?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to put into words. And honestly, I'll start with, I hope everybody that wants to experience it gets to, because it's hard to kind of talk about it. You just got to live it. And it's such a fun experience. The Masters, a tradition unlike any other. Like, it really is. Like, they mean that. It really is. It's very special. I felt like I played solid that week, just couldn't figure the back nine out and just came up short. But long story short, I felt like I learned a lot about myself that I could carry into the next major, which was the US Open. I felt like I learned how to harness some of that nervousness again I'd never felt before, some of that pressure I'd never felt before. Play in front of crowds that I've never really done before, except for maybe a little bit at the USAM. So kind of was able to harness some of that stuff, learn a lot from the Masters, and take it to the US Open. Didn't have the weekend I wanted, but I'll tell you what, you always dream about as a kid to have a weekend tee time at a major, right? And that's, it gives me chills thinking back on it. I mean, I remember making that putt on Friday. It's just like, man, like, this is what we've always dreamed about. My brother was caddy, and we watched every major every year together, and here we are. We have a tee time on Saturday and Sunday against the best in the world. So, like I said before, I mean, just such a special feeling. It's hard to find words for. Hopefully everybody gets to experience it at some point, but just very special for me knowing that, hey, like, I'm competing against the best in the world and doing an okay job at it.
Right. Wow. Well, I mean, congratulations to you. Good for you. Saw another cute. I mean, I swear, like, you are the king of like super cool videos. For the USM preview event, hitting the flag house that's like 100 yards away. That Byron Nelson did it in 1935. You used like a 2-iron from the 30s. Hit the flagpole on your first try. It was a USM preview event. Yeah, at Ridgewood.
Yeah.
It was like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is, whether it's luck, whether it's skill, whether it's a little bit of both. I'm not sure, but I can tell you one thing: I will never be trying that again. I'm 1 for 1, and I will not try that shot again.
Yep. Yeah, I saw Michael Thorbjornsson was there too. That's what you got next in the World Am Team Championships in Paris. That's so exciting. You got that coming up in a couple of weeks. So best of luck to you on that. Real quick here, Austin, I'm going to wrap up with some 5 questions for you.
Okay.
So first question I got for you, what is your favorite place on Franklin Street?
Four Corners.
Four Corners. Got it. I wish I could say that I know, but my coworkers, like I said, are big Tar Heels. So
yeah, Tar Heels will know.
Yeah. Okay. Number 2, what's your favorite golf course that you have ever played?
It's a really good question. I really like Valhalla. I'm a Midwest guy, really like Valhalla.
Yeah. I love that answer. Number 3, funny, I've never asked this question. I've always wanted to, and then you actually kind of answered it. I was going to ask, do you like to hit draws or cuts off the tee? And
cuts. Yeah. Fades all day.
Got it. Number 4, this is a really big one. How did you celebrate UNC beating Duke in the Final Four?
So the funny thing about that is I was at Masters that week, so I didn't get to be on campus. So it was a really good problem to have. But we got together as a family, went out to dinner. I remember that. I was really bummed I couldn't be here on campus. I was so like upset that I couldn't get to be a part of it. But I was like, well, it's a good trade-off. I'm at the Masters, so.
Yeah, that's, if I could think of a reason to not be there.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only reason that would fly.
Right. And number 5. All right. So as we've mentioned, you're quite the grinder here. Already got a session in today. You said you burn the candle at both ends, up early mornings, a lot of practicing, putting, like you've said. When you're finishing off and you've got a final putt, you got to make one good putt before you leave the putting green, right? When you tell yourself like, all right, this is my putt to do what's it for?
It depends what time of year it's in. If it's in college, it's for a national championship. But if it's in the summer, I typically say for the U.S. Open. That's typically what I say is the U.S. Open and in college national championship.
Awesome. Makes a lot of sense. I love it. Well, Austin, I know you got to get going to class here, but I mean, congratulations on all your success so far. And you've still got a senior year coming up and lots of golf ahead of you. So congratulations. Thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate your guys' time as well. So thank you.
Thanks so much, UNC's Austin Greaser, for joining me today on 5 Clubs. Part of being a student athlete is being a student. So Austin had to go ahead and get to class and get the rest of his day going. Otherwise, we probably could have talked for another hour. But I had an absolutely wonderful time talking with Austin today. We wish him the best of luck in his future golf career. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in today on 5 Clubs.